is from Martin Luther King, a speech that he made in 1967 called Where Do We Go From Here? And he says, what is needed is a realization that power without love is reckless and abusive, and that love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is love correcting everything that stands against love.
Aww, that's really nice.
Hi, I'm Pamela. I'm the Outreach Director for TaiwaneseAmerican.org, and today I'm hanging out with Ai-jen Poo, who is the keynote speaker at the 2013 ITASA East Coast Conference and the Director of the National Domestic Workers Alliance. She was also recently named one of Time's 100 Most Influential People. So Ai-jen, tell us a little bit more about the work that you do at NWDA and maybe some recent campaigns that you guys are pursuing.
Sure. We represent the nation's growing workforce of nannies, housekeepers, and caregivers for the elderly who go to work in other people's homes, making it possible for them to go out and do what they do every day in the world. We call it the work that makes all of their work possible. So our work has been to try to bring dignity and respect to that work and to turn those jobs into really good jobs that you can take pride in and support your family on. And we recently won a Domestic Worker Bill of Rights in New York State, and we're working to try to pass similar legislation in California, Massachusetts, Illinois, Hawaii, and Oregon. And we're hoping that lots of other states will follow so that we can kind of bring this workforce into the 21st century and make sure that everybody has rights on the job. And we're working really hard right now on immigration reform to make sure that we can bring all 11 million people who are in the shadows right now out of the shadows and onto a road to citizenship. In the Caring Across Generations campaign, a lot of times employers and consumers are pitted against the workers, right? Because people say, oh, if I have to pay my worker more, then I won't be able to afford the hours of care that I need, and right, those interests are often pitted against each other. And so in this campaign, what we've done is we've created the goals to actually create more for everyone, rather than having a model of scarcity. Let's say, how do we make care more affordable for people who need it? And how do we also make the jobs better jobs? And in the same campaign, as opposed to the workers fighting for the workers and the consumers fighting for the consumers. And so I think that there's like a way, an art and a science to finding the win-win in each situation. And the win-win has to be one that really brings people together. And it's challenging. It's totally challenging, but it's totally possible. And when you do it, you ignite infinite possibilities.
So you've talked about in previous interviews that your parents were really influential in the work that you do today. Can you tell us a little bit more about how they taught you these values and maybe some anecdotes?
Sure. Let's see, so my dad he always taught me about whenever you see something wrong in the world, it's our responsibility to try to do something about it. And I think it comes from when he was a student and he was an activist in Taiwan when there was still the military dictatorship, and he brought that activism to the United States. And he actually started a foundation to raise funds from Chinese Americans and Taiwanese Americans to support young girls being able to go to school in rural parts of China. So he's always been involved in trying to make the world a better place from his own experience. And so I grew up with that value, and then I also grew up with my mom just kind of defying all norms and all kinds of expectations with coming as an immigrant and learning English and getting a PhD and then an MD and like doing all these things that people said would be impossible while raising two kids. Mm-hmm. And I think that she always just showed me how strong women are and how important it is that women have the opportunity and the support that they need to really reach their full potential. And so that really stayed with me, and I started joining women's organizations when I was in like 7th grade or 8th grade. And she's always been, like, her strength has always been such an inspiration to me.
Mm-hmm. It's really amazing.
Yeah. And I think that what we need most going into the future, given the fact that we are becoming so racially and generationally polarized in this country, that it seems like it's really important that we bring forward that intergenerational value, that value about how much richness, connection across generations brings to our families, to our community, and to our nation. And because we have a firsthand experience with that in a lot of our families, I think we have a lot to share and to say about that. And it's with that inspiration, living with my grandmother and my uncles growing up, and realizing, looking around at the country, at how much potential there is for people to be divided, that we started this campaign called Caring Across Generations, which is just about the simple notion and this value that my grandmother used to teach me, which is about how we should actually pay attention to what each other needs, support each other, and take care of one another across generations.
So how do you think the Taiwanese American community can contribute to these causes for social justice? Do you have any words of advice for young Taiwanese Americans who are interested in this type of work?
Where to begin? So, one of the things that I really love about Taiwan whenever I visit there is the coming together of the old and the new, that there are these traditions that are part of our heritage that are so old that we still preserve and that we still treasure. And there's so much that's new, like on the front lines of technology and innovation, and I think that that's the kind of vision for the future that we need to be building here in this country, and one that really recognizes and values and treasures our traditions, our rituals, our history, but also is really driving towards innovation in the future in a way that's very proactive. And so I think that Taiwanese Americans can really bring that kind of a impulse and culture to a vision for the future of this country that is really important. And I think that particularly now, given the immigration reform moment, it's very important that Taiwanese Americans are participating and actively engaging in showing the world when immigrants have the opportunity, right, to have a pathway to citizenship and economic opportunity and good jobs, the amazing things that can happen and the bright futures that our young people can have, and in some ways to be able to tell the experience of what it is to be an immigrant, and then also what it is to have certain opportunities, and to argue that those opportunities should be available to everyone. There's always this push and pull between this notion that it's like us against them versus us and them together, like that a new notion of we. And I think that that's the challenge of our time, is to figure out how we actually embrace the full spectrum of who we are as a country and understand that we are one and that we have to bring in the future together in a way that works for everyone and no one gets left behind.
All right, so now we're going to do a fun segment to TaiwaneseAmerican.org interview. We call it Taiwan Flash. And so it's going to be a lightning round of questions, and just like immediately. And if you answer all these questions within 30 seconds, you get a limited edition TaiwaneseAmerican.org t-shirt.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Better get ready.
All right. So 30 seconds. We don't have a timer.
I have a timer.
Okay, ready? Go. 4 bookmarks on your browser.
Domesticworkers.org, YouTube,
Facebook,
and Twitter.
Twitter. Okay. Mac or PC?
Mac.
Oh, yeah, PC. Favorite Taiwanese food?
Stinky tofu.
Nice. Solid. Okay. All right. So we're done with the interview part, right?
Yeah.
Woo, okay.